Ava always watched her father come home late from work. He would sit at the dining table sighing with worry and frustration. As the owner of one of the country's biggest companies, he trusted his staff to run the business honestly. Ava noticed her father losing his trust in people day by day. She wanted to help, but she knew her father would never let her get involved. Ava came up with her own plan. She decided to go undercover at the company, pretending to be a janitor. Her goal was to find out who was corrupt and help her father see the truth. Ava secretly applied for the janitor job using a false name. She cut her hair shorter and wore cheap uniforms. She put dust on her face and wore rubber gloves on her first day. She entered the company building with a mop and a bucket. No one looked at her twice. The security guard at the entrance checked her fake ID and let her in. The managers walked past her without saying a word. The other janitors gave her small smiles but kept busy with their own work. Ava realized she had truly become invisible. She started cleaning the glass doors while listening to people talk. She pushed her mop slowly along the marble floor. She swept up shredded documents and picked up trash cans. She memorized faces and voices. Ava noticed a group of executives laughing together beside the copy machine. Their expensive suits and shiny watches stood out. They joked about deals and bonuses. Ava heard one of them say, "No one cares about the janitors. They don't listen. They don't count." Ava carefully wiped the floor around them, picking up bits of their conversation during lunch. Ava sat in the staff kitchen with the other janitors. She ate a plain sandwich and kept her eyes lowered. The cleaning staff talked about their families, paychecks, and the way some executives treated them. Ava learned that Maria, the oldest janitor, had worked there for 20 years. Maria said, "The rich people upstairs don't care about us. Some of them are very kind, but others steal from the company." Ava knew now that her suspicions were true. Ava worked long shifts. She stayed late and arrived early. She quietly listened and watched. She noticed the managers who gave orders but took company supplies home. She noticed who accepted gifts and fancy lunches from business partners. She started making notes at home each night. She wrote down everything she saw that looked dishonest. Her hands would shake sometimes with anger, but she stayed focused on her goal. She reminded herself that her father depended on her, even if he did not know it. One evening, Ava watched Maria get scolded by a loud supervisor. The supervisor accused Maria of taking cleaning supplies. Maria's eyes filled with tears. She knew she was innocent, but she had no power to defend herself. Ava's heart ached for Maria. Ava cleaned quietly at Maria's side. Giving her a gentle smile, Maria whispered, "Thank you." Before moving on, Ava's anger grew. She decided at that moment that she would not just watch, she would act. The days passed and Ava blended in with the background. She collected more evidence each time she heard a shady deal or saw someone mistreated. She wrote it down. She took secret photos of forged documents left on desks. She watched as executive after executive ignored company policies. She recorded faces and names in her notebook. As her list grew longer, she knew she was close to finding the main leaders of the corruption. Ava never revealed her true identity. She worked quietly and carefully. She changed her cleaning routine each week so nobody suspected her. She avoided security cameras and kept her head down. She made friends with other janitors, learning their stories and struggles. She realized they needed change, not just her family. Ava's goal soon became bigger than exposing the corrupt staff. She wanted to make sure no one would ever be mistreated the way Maria had been. Late one night, Ava returned home and sat in her bedroom. She spread her notes across the bed and read them again. She made a plan to take everything to the board of directors. But first, she wanted to catch the worst executives in the act. Ava knew she needed more evidence, and she would not stop until she had it. The journey was just beginning, and Ava felt stronger each day. Ava woke up early the next morning, ready to start her second week as a janitor at the company. She dressed in the same worn-out uniform and grabbed her cleaning supplies carefully. Every day, Ava walked through the tall glass doors that led to the office space. Feeling a mix of nervousness and determination, she pushed her mop down the long, shiny floors and looked closely at everything around her. As Ava moved from room to room, she began to notice patterns in how people acted. The executives walked quickly, checking their watches and whispering on phones. They appeared busy but careless in how they treated others. Some managers laughed loudly while pointing fingers, making employees feel small. Others seemed kind but said little. Watching the chaos quietly, Ava realized the company had two faces, one polished for the outside world, and one dark and messy behind the scenes. Ava found a quiet corner during the lunch break and watched the executives gather in the cafeteria. The expensive suits, the lavish food, the conversations about bonuses and profits filled the room. But Ava's attention was on the whispered words rather than the laughter. She heard fragments of secrets shared between a few men and women who did not want others to hear. Promises of special favors and threats to keep people in line floated through the air. Back in the office halls, Ava noticed the workers who carried heavy files and wiped sweat from their foreheads. They glanced nervously at the boardrooms where decisions were made. Ava listened to their stories during breaks, learning that some were afraid to speak up about the bad things they saw. They told Ava about missed payments, fake reports, and money that disappeared without explanation. Their eyes held fear, but Ava saw hope flicker as she paid attention. She promised herself that she would be their voice one day. Ava overheard a conversation between two executives near the abandoned stairwell. One spoke with anger. "We need to fix those numbers before the audit. No one can find out or we all lose everything." The other nodded. "I will take care of it, no questions asked." Ava's heart pounded. She quietly took out her phone and started recording the voices. This was the proof she needed. But she kept acting like she was just doing her job. Ava also watched the janitor team closely, forming friendships with some of the older workers. Maria shared stories of hard times and how corruption had ruined many lives. Ava listened carefully, learning where the real pain came from. When one janitor was fired unfairly, Ava felt rage boil inside her. She knew the corrupt executives were behind it. It pushed her to gather more evidence and plan her next steps. At night after her shift, Ava returned to her small apartment and reviewed her notes and recordings. She connected the dots between suspicious transactions and unfair firings. The faces of those suffering stayed in her mind, not just her father, but every worker whose dignity was taken away. Ava wrote letters she would never send, letters full of questions and demands for justice. She prepared herself for a battle bigger than she ever imagined. One late evening, a security camera caught Ava dropping a small recorder under a desk in the executive area. She hoped no one saw her, but she felt a thrill knowing she was capturing the truth. The next day, she checked the device and smiled quietly when she heard the secret conversations. Ava's confidence grew. Her simple job as a janitor had turned her into a spy inside the heart of corruption. She even started noticing small acts of kindness hidden beneath the surface. A distant executive who quietly paid for a worker's medical bills, a manager who stayed late to help a struggling employee. Ava realized the company had honest people trapped in a broken system. She decided she would protect them as she fought against the corrupt ones. Ava's mission became clearer. Clean the company inside and out just like she cleaned the floors. The week ended with Ava feeling more connected to the company than ever before. She was no longer just a janitor. She was the eyes and ears of justice. Every day brought new challenges and new secrets to uncover. Ava knew the road ahead would be hard, but she was ready. She understood that this undercover work was not just for her family, but for every person working silently behind the scenes. As Ava finished her shift on Friday night, she looked out the window at the city lights, feeling a mix of exhaustion and hope. This was more than a job. It was a fight for truth and fairness. Ava took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "I will not stop until the company is clean." The journey of the janitor, who was also the billionaire's daughter, was only just beginning. Ava knew her mission was growing more important with each passing day. She was no longer just a janitor. She was a silent warrior gathering the truth. After weeks of quietly observing, she started to find stronger proof of corruption deep inside the company's walls. Ava realized it was not enough to rely on rumors or overheard talks. She needed undeniable evidence to change things forever. During her night shifts, when the office was empty or nearly so, Ava carefully searched through piles of papers left on desks. She found documents that did not add up, financial reports with missing numbers, invoices for services never rendered, and contracts signed with strange company names. Each piece seemed small alone, but together they formed a web of lies. Ava photographed every page with her phone, making sure the dates and signatures were clear. One rainy night, Ava spotted something unexpected while cleaning the CEO's office. A locked drawer was slightly open, and inside, she found envelopes filled with cash. Ava took a deep breath and slipped a small video recorder and camera into her bag. She recorded the money carefully, knowing it was proof of bribes or illegal payments. Ava's heart beat faster. She was getting closer to exposing the truth. Back in the break room, Ava shared stories with Maria about the strange things she had seen. Maria smiled sadly. "You have courage, girl. This company needs someone like you." Maria's words gave Ava strength. She felt the support of the workers around her, even if they did not know her real mission. Ava made a promise inside her heart to fight for them all. Ava also discovered the secret meetings held in empty conference rooms late at night, from a hiding place behind a large plant. She recorded conversations between high-level executives, planning to hide losses from investors. They spoke about covering up bad decisions by blaming lower staff. Ava's recorder picked up everything. She felt a mixture of fear and determination, realizing the risks of what she was doing. One day, Ava saw a new employee being threatened by a senior manager for asking too many questions. The young worker was scared and confused. Ava immediately took notes and comforted the frightened person. Ava understood that the company was full of people too scared to speak up. She decided her evidence had to protect not only the company, but also its workers. She was becoming not just a spy, but a hero in her own right. Ava worked harder to collect detailed proof of illegal activities. She studied company emails on a computer one weekend during a cleaning assignment. She copied messages about fake contracts and secret deals into a hidden folder on her USB. Every new piece of information made the picture clearer. Some executives were stealing millions, while others watched silently, too afraid or greedy to stop it. Each night, Ava leaked her findings to herself in messages she sent to a secret email account she created. She checked and organized the files like a detective putting together a case. Ava felt the weight of responsibility, but also a deep sense of purpose. Her mission was bigger than her family. It was about saving the company and protecting honest workers. Ava's quiet determination was like a flame burning brighter in the dark. As Ava's evidence stack grew, she began planning how to present everything to the company's board. She knew that revealing the corruption would change lives forever. But first, she needed more proof and more allies inside the company. Ava started noticing small signs of hope. Some employees whispered about change and talked about a better future. Despite the corruption, Ava found kindness and courage in unexpected places. At home, Ava faced her own doubts and fears. The longer she stayed undercover, the more she risked being discovered and losing everything. But every time she felt scared, she thought about the people she wanted to help. She imagined a day when the company would be clean and honest, and workers like Maria would be treated with respect. Ava believed that courage had to be stronger than fear. One night, Ava stayed until the office was empty, recording the echo of her footsteps in the silent halls. She looked around at the desks, the papers, the secrets hidden in every corner. Ava took a deep breath and whispered, "Tomorrow will be the day I find the truth," and smiled, knowing that her work was just beginning. But the end of corruption was near. Ava continued her undercover work with quiet determination. Each day she gathered more proof of corruption deep inside the company. But one afternoon, everything changed while cleaning a small meeting room. Ava overheard a heated argument between a corrupt executive and a low-level employee named Maria. Maria was accused unfairly of stealing supplies. Her voice trembled as she denied the claim, but the executive shouted loudly, blaming her without any proof. Ava watched from the hallway, feeling a strong anger building inside her. Maria's tears fell silently onto the floor tiles, but she refused to leave her post, showing strength even in sadness. Ava knew this moment was more than just a fight for supplies. It was a battle for justice. She understood that Maria was a symbol of all the workers who had been hurt by the corrupt leaders. Ava decided that she could no longer be just an observer. She had to act and protect the innocent that night. Ava sat in her small apartment with her notes spread out before her. She worked late into the evening, writing a detailed report about the corruption. She put everything she had gathered in one place: names, conversations, photos, recordings, and evidence of unfair treatment of workers like Maria. Ava's hand shook as she signed the report. Knowing this was the turning point in her mission, she planned to send it to the company's board and key decision-makers very soon. Before sending the report, Ava wanted to be sure it was perfect. She contacted a trusted friend who was a lawyer. Explaining her mission carefully, Ava showed him the evidence. He was surprised by the amount of clear proof Ava had collected. The lawyer warned her about the risks but promised to help protect her identity. He told Ava that the truth was powerful, but coming out could be dangerous without the right support. Ava felt a mix of hope and fear, but the injustice against Maria and others had pushed her beyond hesitation. She remembered the faces of the workers she had met, the stories of broken families and lost dreams. Every injustice she witnessed gave her new strength to keep fighting. Ava decided to send the report the next day. She knew that once it was sent, her life would change forever. The very next morning, Ava walked into the company with a quiet but brave heart. She moved through the halls smiling at the janitors who greeted her warmly. She stopped by Maria's cleaning area and gave her a hopeful nod. Ava's connection with the workers was no longer secret. It was her purpose. Ava used her secret email account to carefully send the report to the board members. Then she waited, feeling a powerful rush of nerves and excitement. Hours later, Ava was cleaning near the main office when she heard a commotion. People were whispering and staring at each other nervously. She overheard two executives talking about the report and its shocking details. The corrupt leaders were panicking. Some tried to deny the accusations, while others whispered about trying to find the source of the leak. Ava remained calm and silent, watching the company she loved begin to shake from the truth she had uncovered. The board members called an emergency meeting that afternoon. Ava was not invited, but she listened carefully from outside the conference room. Through the glass, she saw the serious faces and heard the sharp words. The CEO demanded answers, and the executives tried to defend themselves. But the evidence was too strong to ignore. Ava felt a quiet smile growing inside her. She knew the fight was moving to the next stage. During the same meeting, Ava heard the board promise changes. They spoke of firing those responsible and creating new rules to protect workers and honesty. Ava felt hope spark like bright fire. She had dreamed of this moment. But she also knew real change would take time and courage. The people at the top had to be brave enough to make difficult decisions. Ava was ready to face whatever came next. That night, during her shift, Ava found Maria again and quietly told her, "Help is coming soon." Maria looked at Ava with tearful eyes full of trust and gratitude. Ava felt a deep connection to the janitor whose courage inspired her most. They both knew that the battle for justice was far from over, but for the first time they believed the future could be better. Ava also began writing a personal journal, capturing every thought, fear, and quiet hope. She kept it hidden in her small room, knowing that her mission was more than just about fighting corruption. It was about protecting the truth, the workers, and the company's soul. Ava believed she was no longer alone. That promise gave her the power to keep going. Even when the nights were long and the risk grew larger, the turning point had arrived and Ava stood ready. Prepared to bring the corrupt executives to justice, she cleaned the floors each day with new purpose, knowing that every step she took was part of a bigger plan. The janitor, who was also the billionaire's daughter, was no longer just a secret watcher, but a leader in a fight that would change everything. The day Ava had prepared for so long finally arrived. Ava entered the building carrying her cleaning supplies as usual, but inside her heart she knew this would be different. She was no longer the invisible janitor, but the bearer of truth about the company's corruption. Ava had asked for a special meeting with the board of directors, using a fake name she had prepared carefully. She was ready to reveal everything she had found. Ava arrived at the conference room, dressed in her janitor uniform. The executives inside were surprised to see her. Some whispered and laughed quietly, thinking she was joking. Ava ignored their laughter and cleared her throat. She began to speak clearly and confidently. "I have evidence that many executives have been dishonest to this company and its workers," she said. Her voice was steady but firm. She placed a small recorder and her notes on the table. One by one, Ava played recordings of secret meetings, showed pictures of forged documents, and told stories of unfair treatment of workers. The room fell silent. The executives looked shocked and could not hide their guilt. Some tried to deny the accusations, but the proof was strong and clear. Ava, who had once been invisible, was now the center of attention. There was a moment of tension when the CEO stood and demanded to know her true identity. Ava smiled and slowly removed her janitor cap, revealing her face. "I am Ava," she said, "the daughter of the company's owner." The room gasped. No one had expected the janitor to be the owner's daughter, nor had they guessed her mission was real. Ava told them how she had come undercover to find out the truth herself and to protect the company and its workers. The executives exchanged nervous glances. Some tried to speak, but Ava raised her hand for silence. She looked each of them in the eye and said, "Corruption has no place here, and it ends today." Ava handed over the full report to the board members, listing each corrupt executive and the evidence against them. The weight of the moment was heavy, but Ava felt a quiet power within her. The chairman of the board stood and thanked Ava for her courage. He announced that the board had voted to fire every corrupt executive on the spot. The honest workers would be protected and promoted. The company would start fresh with new rules to prevent dishonesty. Ava watched as the executives who had been so confident before now looked defeated. The power had shifted, and the truth was winning. As the meeting ended, Ava felt a deep sense of relief and pride. She stepped out of the conference room and was greeted by some janitors and employees who had heard the news. They smiled and clapped quietly for her. Ava knew her secret mission was now public, but she was ready to face whatever came next. Her hard work had made a change, and the company was finally on the right path. That evening, Ava walked through the halls one last time as a janitor. She noticed how the workers looked at her with respect and hope. Ava thought about Maria and all the others who had suffered silently. Now their voices could be heard. Ava looked at the clean floor she had mopped, feeling proud that her mission had combined two worlds: the humble work of a janitor and the power of a daughter determined to protect her family's legacy. Ava also began to plan for the future, knowing that the company needed new leaders who would be honest and kind. She considered how she could help train and support those who truly cared. Ava understood this was only the beginning of a long journey to rebuild trust and fairness. But she was ready. For the first time in a long time, the company felt like a family again. That night, Ava wrote in her journal, "The truth is strong enough to break the darkest lies." She smiled and closed the book. Feeling peaceful, she had found her voice and made a difference through courage and patience. Ava was no longer just a janitor or a daughter. She was a leader, a symbol of hope for a company that had almost lost its soul. After the big reveal, the company atmosphere changed overnight. Ava's actions had shaken everyone. The corrupt executives who had once walked with arrogance now hid their faces and whispered behind closed doors. The news of Ava's uncovering spread through the company like wildfire. Workers who had always felt ignored began to speak openly about the problems they faced. They shared stories of wrongdoings they had witnessed but never dared to tell before. The board members held several meetings to review Ava's evidence in detail. They took steps to ensure that every corrupt person would be punished fairly. Ava watched from behind the scenes, feeling the weight of responsibility for what would happen next. Some executives tried to defend themselves, but the proof was clear. Many had to admit their crimes. Some resigned quickly, hoping to avoid more trouble, but the majority faced consequences. The cleaning staff and other workers felt a wave of relief and hope. For years they had suffered quietly, but now their voices mattered. Maria, Ava's close friend and fellow janitor, smiled more brightly each day. She told Ava, "You saved us from the darkness." Ava felt proud but knew the battle was not over. It was only the beginning of a new chapter for the company and everyone who worked there. To rebuild trust, the company created new departments to focus on fairness and transparency. They invited honest employees to help design new policies and report corruption safely. Ava worked closely with these teams, using what she had learned as both a janitor and a daughter. She wanted to make sure every worker felt protected and valued. No one would be left in fear again. The company's culture started to change slowly but surely. Ava's father, who had been worried and tired for so long, finally felt hope again. He thanked Ava quietly. Proud of her courage and determination, he promised to support all the changes and make the company better for everyone. Ava realized her father's strength was in his belief in honesty and fairness. Together, they planned to rebuild the company's reputation and show the world that change was possible. Meanwhile, Ava continued to meet with workers from different departments. She listened to their ideas and fears. She encouraged them to be brave and help shape the future. Employees started to share more openly, feeling safe in the new atmosphere. The corrupt executives who remained were on notice. They could no longer hide behind lies or power. The company was turning a new page, one of justice and respect. Ava's identity as the janitor who uncovered the corruption became famous. She was invited to speak at company events and outside forums. People admired her for her honesty and bravery. But Ava remained humble and focused. She always remembered the quiet janitor life she had lived just weeks before. Her mission was not about fame, but about making a difference. She hoped her story would inspire others to fight injustice wherever they found it. One afternoon, Ava sat with Maria and some janitors in the staff room. Smiling and talking about the future, Maria said, "You have given us hope when there was none." Ava nodded, feeling grateful for the friendship and strength she had found. She knew the company was still healing, but the truth was now a strong foundation. Ava looked around at the faces of those she had fought for and felt a quiet peace. They were no longer silent victims, but part of a new, honest family. At night, Ava often thought about her journey, the days of watching and listening, the fear and hope, and finally the courage to speak up. She wrote in her journal, "Truth is a light that can shine through the darkest places." She closed the book, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Ava was no longer just the billionaire's daughter or the undercover janitor. She was a voice for fairness, a symbol of change, and a guardian of truth. And in the quiet moments, Ava felt a powerful belief that with courage and honesty, even the biggest problems could be solved. She was ready to help the company grow with respect and strength. Her journey had taught her that the truth was stronger than fear and lies, and that sometimes the most unlikely hero could change the world one step at a time. After the truth came out, changes swept through the company like a fresh wind. Ava watched proudly as the board kept its promise to end corruption. Every executive involved in dishonest acts was fired immediately. There was no room for excuses or second chances. The company was taking a new path, one filled with honesty and fairness. Many employees who had been ignored for years finally felt seen and heard. Maria, the janitor Ava had grown close to, was promoted to a new role in employee support. She became a symbol of hope for many workers who dreamt of respect and dignity. Ava helped create training programs to teach managers about fairness and kindness. She worked with HR to make sure punishments for bad behavior were clear and followed. The company also started regular meetings where workers could safely share their concerns. These changes made the workplace friendlier and more open. Ava's father, grateful and proud, thanked her and the board for their courage. He promised to support a company culture that put people first. The billionaire's daughter, who had gone undercover, changed more than just the staff. She changed the heart of a business that had almost lost its way. Ava felt a quiet satisfaction knowing her hard work had saved not only her family's legacy, but the lives of countless workers. The company also began a public campaign to rebuild its image. They shared stories about the fight against corruption and the new rules in place. Ava spoke at events to inspire others, showing that bravery and honesty could make a difference anywhere. Her story became a beacon for companies struggling with unfair practices. She encouraged businesses to listen to their workers and value truth above profit. Ava's mission grew beyond the walls of her family company. Meanwhile, honest leaders were promoted to positions of power. They were chosen for their integrity and care for employees. Ava helped guide these new leaders with lessons she had learned firsthand. She ensured they stayed true to the promises made. New ideas like transparent reporting and fair pay systems were introduced. Employees felt motivated and proud to work for the company once again. The dark days of corruption were slowly becoming a distant memory. Ava also spent more time with the janitors and workers who had supported her. She listened to their stories and dreams, promising to continue fighting for a better workplace. Her efforts showed that leadership can come from anyone, no matter their job title or background. Ava's story showed the world that fairness and respect were not just ideals, they were possible. With courage and a clear heart, change could begin even in the most unlikely places. One afternoon, during a company celebration for the new changes, Ava stood beside her father, watching happy workers share smiles and stories. She felt a deep joy that came from knowing she had made a real difference. Maria came up to Ava and said, "Thank you for believing in us when no one else did." Ava smiled and replied, "We all have the power to change things, one step at a time." The room filled with applause and hope. At the end of the day, Ava walked through the building, remembering how she first came as a janitor, invisible and unheard. Now she was a leader who had sparked justice and fairness. Ava believed the journey to true change was ongoing, but the company was ready. The lessons of honesty, courage, and respect would guide them forward. Ava was ready to continue her mission of creating a place where everyone mattered. In her quiet moments, Ava wrote in her journal, "Justice is the reward of courage and truth." She knew she had been tested and had grown stronger. Ava's journey, from undercover janitor to a leader of change, showed that no matter how small a voice may seem, it can still be powerful enough to change the world. She closed her journal with a hopeful smile, ready for the future and all the challenges it would bring. The company that was once clouded by corruption now faced a fresh start. Ava looked around the offices and hallways, seeing a changed atmosphere filled with hope and possibility. The workers smiled more often, and managers spoke with respect and kindness. Her journey, from an undercover janitor to a leader of change, had inspired everyone. The company's future was no longer uncertain, but bright and promising. Ava worked closely with the new management team to create a culture of openness and fairness. They held regular meetings where everyone could share ideas and concerns without fear. Leaders learned from companies known for successful culture changes, adopting best practices to build trust and teamwork. Policies were rewritten to support honesty and protect whistleblowers. Ava made sure the voices of all employees were heard and valued. Training programs encouraged kindness, transparency, and accountability. Ava shared her story with employees, showing that courage and truth could reshape any workplace. She promoted collaboration by setting up teams from different departments to solve problems together. The company started celebrating small wins and successes openly, building a sense of unity and pride for everyone involved. The past mistakes became lessons, guiding them toward a better future. The company also reached outside the office walls, sharing their journey of transformation with other businesses in the community. Ava spoke at conferences and workshops about her mission and what it took to change deeply rooted problems. Her message was simple. Change starts with brave individuals willing to stand for truth. The company became a model for others, proving that even the biggest challenges could be overcome with honesty and teamwork. At home, Ava felt a deep gratitude for the opportunity to make a difference. She understood that being the billionaire's daughter wasn't just about wealth or power, but the responsibility to protect and care. She kept close ties with the workers who had trusted her, ensuring their lives improved in real ways. Ava realized that leadership came from listening, learning, and acting for the greater good. Her journey had taught her the value of humility and perseverance. One of her proudest moments was seeing Maria, now a respected employee support leader, helping others find their voice. Ava often visited the janitor's room, sharing laughs and stories with the staff who had been her strength. She saw in them the real heart of the company. Ava's mission was no longer just hers. It belonged to everyone who wanted fairness and respect. The company had grown into a community of shared hope and purpose. While the company still faced challenges, Ava knew they were ready. They had built a culture where honesty mattered and everyone had a place. Ava remained committed to guiding and inspiring the company to stay true to these values. Her story was proof that change could come from the most unexpected places, and that courage, when joined with the truth, could transform even the darkest places into brighter futures. In the quiet moments before sleep, Ava often thought of her journey. From the invisible janitor to the leader who stood for justice, her heart was full of hope and determination. She believed that every person had power inside them to create change, and that by standing together, people could build a better world. Ava smiled softly, ready for whatever the future held, knowing her mission was just beginning.